Some people are completely different when it's just you. One-on-one, they're easy. They laugh at the same things. They talk to you like they actually know you, because they do. Then, someone else walks in. A coworker. A mutual friend. Doesn't matter who. And the version of them you know quietly leaves the room. They don't announce it. Nothing obvious happens. But the ease disappears, the warmth is gone, and they're talking to you differently, slightly more distant, maybe even a little dismissive. And you're sitting there trying to figure out what just happened. Here's what I'm going to tell you in this video. That shift is not about you. It never was. But understanding what it is about, and why most people respond to it in a way that makes things worse, is going to change how you read every room you walk into after this. Most people who experience this spend the next hour trying to figure out what they did wrong. You didn't do anything. What you ran into happens between almost every pair of people, the moment a third person enters the equation. It has a name, it has a mechanism, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. When it's just the two of you, the only thing being managed is the relationship. Their version of themselves is calibrated to you, to your history, to the comfort that exists between you. The moment someone else walks in, a second calculation starts running. How do I look to them? And for a lot of people, that second question overrides the first one almost immediately. Not because they're manipulative. Because status pressure is one of the most automatic things the human brain responds to. The warmth doesn't disappear because they stopped caring about you. It disappears because they started performing. A performance has a completely different goal than a conversation. A conversation is trying to connect. A performance is trying to land. And what they're landing for isn't you. It's the room. So they shift into a version of themselves they believe reads better in front of witnesses. Cooler, more detached, more subtly dominant in how they talk to you, because talking down to someone slightly, in front of others, can feel like a status move that works. They are not managing the relationship anymore. They are managing witnesses. That phrase explains more social confusion than almost anything else. When someone has an audience, their behavior stops being about you and starts being about what the audience records. You were not the audience. You became the content. Here's where most people make it worse. When someone turns cold on you in front of others, the instinct is to either pull back and go quiet, or lean in and try harder, get more engaging, more accommodating, more visibly friendly, trying to signal that everything's fine. Both moves have the same problem. They accept the frame that the switch was about you. The moment you start adjusting to recover what was there privately, you've shown everyone in that room something, that your steadiness depends on how someone else is treating you. And once people see that, you become easier to unsettle. The person who switched has, without doing anything explicit, just discovered a lever. So what actually works? You don't reorganize yourself around their performance. You stay where you were. Not as a power move. Not to make a point. You stay because their decision to perform for a room is not a reason for you to change how you're operating. Keep the same tone. The same ease. The same level of engagement you had before the room filled up. Here's the mechanism. When one person switches and the other doesn't, it creates a gap. The room notices that gap body. The person who didn't switch reads as more grounded, more secure. You don't have to say anything. You just have to not move. If the switch was cold enough that something needs to be said, the line that works is quieter than you'd expect. You doing okay? Genuinely, not sarcastically, names the shift without attacking it. It says, I noticed, I'm not rattled, and I'm giving you a way out of whatever you're performing right now. Most of the time, that's enough. The performance deflates because it needed you to react or comply, and you did neither. Here's what this looks like in real life. Workplace. You and a coworker have been friendly for months. Easy back and forth, no performance. Then your manager joins the table at lunch. Your coworker, mid-sentence, stops talking to you. They swivel toward the manager. The warmth disappears. At one point, they gently correct something you said, in a way they'd never do if you were alone. Wrong move. Go quiet, or try harder to get included. Right move. Keep going at the same level. Talk to the manager directly as yourself without performing. The manager, who has seen this dynamic many times, notices which person changed and which one didn't. Friend, group, you're close with someone one-on-one. But in the group, they're different. More sarcastic, more likely to make a small joke at your expense. Just enough to be real, just subtle enough that addressing it directly feels like an overreaction. They're using you as a prop. Wah. A small, reliable source of contrast that makes them look a certain way in front of others. Reacting gives them the scene they're staging. Ignoring it entirely reads as consent. The move, name it without heat. That was a little unnecessary, said easily. No charge, not as an accusation. Just a note. It puts the awkwardness back where it belongs and gives them nothing to escalate from. Meeting. A colleague who's been collaborative in smaller conversations presents something in front of leadership, something that came directly out of a conversation the two of you had, and presents it as entirely theirs. We actually developed that together. No edge, no public grievance, just accurate. You're not attacking. You're keeping the record straight. Anyone in that room who matters will have noticed. Most people doing this aren't calculating against you. They're responding to an audience the way people who've never felt fully secure always respond, by switching to the version of themselves they think works better in public. It's reflexive. Most of the time, they don't even realize they did it. That doesn't make it fine, but it makes it less about you than it feels. The real question, after you understand this pattern, is a simple one. What version of you shows up when the room fills? The person who doesn't need to switch, who's recognizably the same in private and in public, is genuinely harder to move. Not because they're performing stability, because they stop needing the room's approval to know where they stand. You can't control who performs for witnesses. You can control whether you become one of them.